Hi, everyone. Welcome to the May 2024 Raleigh Astronomy Club imaging meeting. And tonight we're going to be talking about the Aurora event, a rare event that occurred back last Friday on May 10th, 2024. And it started for me, at least here in Apex, around right at sunset. So yeah, so basically we're just going to go through it and everybody's just going to share their photos. So I guess Steve, because well, you're in the spotlight, so there you go.
All right. All
Great
right.
works.
All right. Let's see if I can really get the share working here. All right. Is that showing?
Yes.
All right. This is from my Flickr. This is the first one is a video. This was on the first night and the best night of the Northern Lights. This was taken from Cedar Grove, north of Hillsboro. I went, I guess, about 10 o'clock. And we looked up to the north there. And there's a country road I pull off sometimes when I want to see the northern sky. And I knew this place existed, so I went there and I looked north and I could vaguely see some would look like color, some redness or something. So I said, okay, well, something's happening. So I set up my camera, the Canon's 6D with a 10 millimeter Tamron lens on it, and it took a 6-second exposure at f3.5 and ISO 2000, and there was all this color, and I said, okay, this is good. So I set it up to take a picture roughly every 10 seconds, and just kept taking pictures until I got tired of it, and it sort of started fading away around 11:30, maybe midnight. And so I took hundreds and hundreds of photos, and was very happy to see what I could see. And so this is a time lapse. I brought it home and put it in Lightroom and processed each image the same way, which you can do in Lightroom. And then I exported them up and used a program on my Mac called Glue Motion to create the time lapse. And I was very pleased with what came out. And this is played back at 24 frames a second. And so I was quite happy with how that was started to look.
Okay, 24 frames per second. So you say each one was 10 seconds?
Each one was 10 seconds. Yeah.
Okay, so each second is 4 minutes.
Each one was 6 seconds.
Oh, 6 seconds. Oh, okay.
So 10 per minute.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And so and I just let it go until I thought that, and I could look in the camera and see that it had faded away toward the end there. So I gave it up and drove home. And then when I got home, I'll show you later. So this is one of the better single frames of that. Getting these vertical lines of color that were going on. I was really surprised at how well it went up there. Like I said, it's a place I've been before, so I knew I could get the northern sky there pretty well. So I was pretty happy with that. And it's a relatively safe place, I think, to pull off the road there. And the only really thing you can hear is cows in the background. So
Wow, out there?
yeah.
I don't think I've seen a herd of cows in North Carolina in a long time.
Well, that's what they were. I could hear them mooing in the back somewhere. It's all farmland up there still, so it was kind of interesting. Anyways, this is one of the single frames. And then I went home and I looked toward the northern sky and I could see that there was still some color. I wasn't sure if it was from the city or if it was from the Northern Lights. So I set my camera up in my yard and just went to 24 millimeters and aimed between the trees from my yard toward the north. And there they were again. And I let this go. It was like 4.5 hours. I just let it go at the same exposure that you can see. There's the Big Dipper going down now. And Polaris is up toward over on the right, just above the trees. And so the sky rotating. I think it was from like one till maybe 5:30, something like that at night. And so I just let it go. And I was very pleased with what I got with that as well, because I was surprised I could see anything in the city I'm about 2 miles north of the Duke West campus. So it's fairly light polluted here, but these were strong enough to be able to see. And occasionally there's a flash of a car coming down the road there, but and some
So see, I had to ask at the end there. Let's see. Hold on, you're about to get to the end. Let's see. Wait for it. Uh, right about there. Is that
yeah,
the sun coming up?
yes, yes,
Okay. All right.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of you then because, well, I mean, I'll go on to the whole spiel about what I experienced from this, but yeah, I was out at 2 a.m.
yeah,
And yeah, I didn't see anything. So I was like, well, I guess it's over with. And then I see this, and I was just like, damn.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe because I mean, you see the stuff, and it's like just comes and goes. I mean, it's like they're clouds unto themselves, you know. I mean, just moving across and fade away, fading in,
Right, exactly. Well, and I was in my driveway with the Sea Star doing other things while this was happening. So I used the entire night to do things, and I'll show some of that later on. Okay, then I went back to Cedar Grove a couple nights later because I assumed there would still be something going on. And this is tilted a little weirdly here, but I didn't fix that. But if you notice toward the treetops there, you can see hang on, I'm just sharing that, get this off the screen if I can. There you go. You can see there's red going on. There's something, and then there's more along the trees to the right. You see the redness there. So this was a couple nights later. The moon was a lot brighter, of course, and there were some clouds, but there was still some aurora that night, but it was nothing like the 2 nights beforehand. So I was only there for a couple of hours, and I couldn't see anything in the pictures, so I gave up on that at that time and drove home and processed and did more with the Sea Star. And this is a star trail with the first night, and you can see that there's the moon in the lower center there, and then some of the different colors you would see that all collected together on top of each other. So it's like a stacking of things.
That's
And,
cool.
and then there's another one. That's the one from home the other night. And you can see there was quite a lot of aurora going on there. And then there's Polaris up above the trees on the right, and some airplanes going through and things. And then the moon is at the very upper left, going across. So it was fun to do this as well. And then this is what the sun looked like, I think the day before the aurora, that I took with my lunch, because just to sort of document what was causing these things. And so that's a picture that I took along with the prominences that were there.
And that's the group, the suspect, if you would say, over there on the right side of the limb, right there.
Exactly right. Yeah, yeah. The one that you took a lot of pictures of and put up. Yeah, with the various filters. Yeah. So anyway, and I've did this across earlier on and then later as well. It's gone now, and there's some new ones coming up on the other side of the sun now. So there's another group coming up. I don't think it's the same one. So there might be some more activity, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the sun, if I were just like to pull a number out, I would probably say about 25 days is what it takes to do one rotation on the sun. So yeah, I would say, yeah, maybe a little more than 10 days from now, you'll probably see this thing again, see how it's evolved. It'll be interesting to see.
Right. Well, I have some sea star pictures of the sun that I took today, and we'll see what's there. So, anyway, that's all I've got for as far as the aurora go, Chris.
Hey,
Okay.
Steve,
Yeah.
this is Don.
Yeah, Don.
On that the Friday
Yeah.
disturbance, what I heard is that that was if that was directly at us or whatever, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, that it could have been almost like a Carrington event.
The Carrington was much more so, if you read about it. Of course, back then they didn't have as many things that would be affected by that except the telegraphs. And it really affected the telegraphs quite a lot, apparently. And I haven't heard very much about anything be affected by this one. Maybe there were, and I just didn't hear about it. But yeah, so it would be, I would imagine if it was a Carrington event type thing, we would have really noticed it in satellites and GPS and everything else. So I don't think it was nearly that level.
Yeah, they talked, from what I read afterwards, Steve, they talked a little bit about there was some of the, as you just mentioned, the GPS, there was some of the high frequency radio waves that were disturbed by it. So there were a few things that were impacted on it. But as you said, not anywhere near the extent of some of the earlier events.
The telegraph operators on the Carrington event were getting shocked off of their telegraph keys. So I think we didn't have
not in that territory.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess your barbed wire fences become electric fences. Yeah.
All right, that's all I got right now, Chris.
Okay, excellent, Steve, as always. Here, I'll go ahead and go next. Move up, like that. All right. Is everybody copy there? Okay, so yeah, atrocious looking, right? So so right around this time of year, my in-laws across the street, this is the time of the strawberry harvest, and you know, we have a field for people to come in and pick their own, and then we also have a field where we pick strawberries for people who don't feel like picking their own. But we do a lot of other things, and we usually have to prep well into about almost like 9 o'clock into during the weekend hours to prep for the next day, because we don't only just sell strawberries, we sell other things as well, and so we have to set things up and whatnot. But anyway, so this was really on my mind, as the sun was going down, and this is the first picture I took, and yeah, maybe I'm using a defense mechanism here, but this is a Samsung, my Samsung phone, and I have been using Google Pixels for, gosh, probably more than 6 years. So yeah, I really hadn't gotten the hang of using this camera at all. But I mean, at least you can tell that at the top there's your upside down Big Dipper. And obviously, if you know how to start off the Big Dipper to the North Star, you see the North Star is that jiggly one at the lower left. And part of the little Dipper's bowl, the edge of it is what's closest to the center of these two stars. But anyway, so I thought I would go out, and I looked up, and I was like, maybe there's something there, maybe there's not. So I took this picture, and yeah, of course, it was like, oh, that's terrible, but what can you do? And I saw that the gradient there that at the top, and I was like, I think that's real, because if that's a light pollution gradient from apex, it's in the opposite direction, because apex is over in the northern half of the sky, and so this is coming from the south mostly. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So I saw that, and I called over my father-in-law, and he had a Samsung phone too, but he knew how to take. He took some nice wide-angle shots of the eclipse, and he's actually done some star trails with his phone, and so he knew how to use it. So he took some pictures, and I'll show you those later. And but what he found is that, yeah, it is red there, so we're not seeing things. So, and then all of a sudden it started getting red everywhere in the sky. And so this is me just kid holding up my camera, and I just set it on the roof of my car. And so, yeah, it looks terrible. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh my God, it's starting. So, if anybody's been out to the farm during the club barbecue, you'll know that the driveway is kind of long. So I ran all the way down that driveway across the street into the house to get my DSLR and tripod there. So, but yeah, same sort of part of sky, but getting more to the south because that's mainly where I saw it. I saw red everywhere, but the majority of the activity was probably northwest and especially going all the way down to almost the southeast, actually. So yeah, it's pretty much 180 degrees, half the sky was getting intense. So yeah, I saw that, and then, on the bottom of the screen, you see the Big Dipper's cut off a little bit. But then at the top of the screen, that little spatter of stars right there, that's sort of an open cluster center of not Pleiades, excuse me, Perseus, constellation Perseus. So anyway, I went and got my DSLR, and yeah, I guess I do need to get a wide angle lens. So, and these are 10-second shots, and yeah, so like Steve, these are a little bit longer. So yeah, I've learned my lesson there. If this ever happens again, I'll probably need to cut the time in half and up the ISO to get about the same result here, but with a little sharper detail, because those bars right there, you can just barely make them out. You can especially make out this bright one in the center, but there's a little gradient right here that has a slight sharp cutoff there. There was a bar right there, and I wasn't able to capture that because it's like I was saying. I asked Steve if he noticed the same thing. He said, "Yeah, I mean, or just now, that these things move like clouds. I mean, they change really quick. So that's something I just wasn't prepared for." But anyway, so there's one, but that's the neighborhood that's like right at the edge of the strawberry field. So yeah, so we got like a housing development right there watching us, work in the fields all the time. But anyway, so yeah, there's that one. This is probably my favorite shot out of all of them. It was a nice wide angle shot, and I got some of the better looking little columns and bars of the actual Aurora. Back here, I mean, you could see a little bit of green, way down at the bottom of the picture, close to the horizon. But this picture, there wasn't much in the way of green. I want to say, you look at the star, or not star, excuse me, the moon there. I want to say the star to the lower right. I think that's Aldebaran, something like that. That's how you pronounce it. It's one of the brightest stars of Taurus. Actually, I think it's the brightest star of Taurus. But anyway, and then clouds are covering up, but there's uh, Pollux and Castor are behind the clouds right there. And those are the two heads of the twins of the constellation Gemini. So this is my favorite shot out of all of them. And I brought out my 50 millimeter lens. I was like, why the hell not? So I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll be able to fit something nice in it. And yeah, 50 millimeter lens was not that great, but or great for imaging the Aurora. But I mean, the thing I like about this picture is that it pretty much shows you what's the sky pretty much looked like to me. I mean, everywhere you looked, there was some sort of shade of red. I mean, and it was, yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, dare I say, I almost enjoyed this more than the solar eclipse we had last month. Because, I mean, it's something I had never seen before. And the kicker behind that is my dad, he lives in Alaska, and I've been there 7 times, and none of those times did I see an aurora. So, yeah, get to see it in North Carolina. How about that? But anyway. Yeah, so this was with a 50 millimeter lens down below. That's our high tunnel. We finished that thing. It's similar to a greenhouse. The only difference is you grow plants on the actual soil inside there. And we finished that last month and got inspected. this Monday and it passed. Yay! So yeah, next to it you might see just the crane arm of a bobcat that we use. But anyway, so let me go back to this one. So here's this one, and my father-in-law was taking images. So here's the one that I like most that I took with the DSLR, and this is what he was able to get with his cell phone camera. So he was able to pick up some of the green there. So that's nice. And let's see. Here's another one he took. I just like the way it's just Aurora peeking through the treetops there. And here's another image of some of the treetops as well. Like right there at the very top, I'm pretty sure that's what they are. Near the center of the top there, that's Poets and Castor, the heads of the twins of Constellation of Gemini. So here's another one. He got, yeah, his bar showed up a lot better than mine. It's like I said, it's probably because I just made the exposure too long. I should have done what Steve did and like cut it in half. And some of you may recognize it. Yeah, that's the side of the strawberry barn shed, whatever. You know, you can get it all kinds of names. We were serving barbecue late last year. So anyway, so here's what caused all the calamity. And I posted this on Groups.io, and so what you're seeing here, and you can deduce from the annotations there, we have 3 different wavelengths there. We have continuum, which is 540 nanometers. All these are false colors, and the reason why I say that is because continuum at 540 nanometers, if anybody knows the visible spectrum, or just electromagnetic spectrum, you'll know that 540 nanometers in the visible spectrum is actually green. But the standard everybody uses as far as when they take images with the continuum filter is that they like to make it light yellow. And you don't need a continuum filter, which, like I said, is on the green side. You can always just use a white filter, and you can get kind of close to the same results as this. The continuum filter is really nice because it really brings out the subtleties in the granulate that are not part of like the sunspot groups or anything, and you don't really see that as well in just a white light filter alone. But yeah, the continuum filter, just because we're talking about the sun here, and safety is always something you need to keep in mind. You need a white light filter in front of your telescope, like that, like maybe like some of us used during the eclipse, and then the continuum filter, which is green, you put that in front of your camera. Right? You can look at it visually, and yeah, I guess it helps. I haven't really looked at it visually just because I imaged the sun more so I can look at it. But anyway, yeah. So then we come over here. This one's similar to a Herschel wedge, the calcium K line here at 393 nanometers, which is right at the threshold where you start to hit ultraviolet rays. And one of the things, if you look at all 3 of these images right over here, we'll get to hydrogen alpha. If you look at all 3 of the images, calcium K is not that sharp. And the reason why that is that that's something I like to everybody to remember, is that when you're imaging at shorter wavelengths of light, the atmosphere tends to scatter those photons more so than the longer wavelengths, like we have the continuum and the hydrogen alpha. Although hydrogen alpha can be affected by the scattering of the atmosphere, but for a very different reason. So, but anyway, yeah, the calcium K line, like I was saying with the continuum filter, I don't know if you can see this on your monitors at home, but here we have the sunspot group, active region AR 3664, which is what caused all this, all this Aurora activity throughout all the coronal mass ejections and X flares that gave us the show last Friday. But if you look down here, you can probably see a little like light extension of it right there. That shows up here in the calcium K line. So that shows you kind of like the advantage of using a continuum filter, in addition with the white light filter in front of your telescope, and you can pick up all these other subtle details when you use that. But anyway, yeah, so calcium kaolin, that's close to being close to UV. And over here you get to hydrogen alpha. Hydrogen alpha, as everybody knows, I tell everybody hydrogen alpha in plain, in plain language, it's just the light of hydrogen in general. And I say in general, as in like the majority of the images we take of nebulae and whatnot are from emissions of photons that are in the hydrogen alpha wavelength because, well, it's clouds of hydrogen that are being ionized and giving off these photons at 656 millimeters. So hydrogen alpha, when it comes to the sun, obviously, because the sun is just a big cauldron of tortured hydrogen atoms that are being smashed together into helium. During that whole process, you get hydrogen alpha photons coming out of it. One of the things that's tricky about hydrogen alpha is that it does well if you can narrowly center onto the center line of 656 nanometers. Because when you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, we're looking at values. We're not looking at regions when we're talking about wavelengths. We're not looking at regions in the electromagnetic spectrum. So in the case of hydrogen alpha, if you don't get a perfect center line of the of your filtering of hydrogen alpha, you could lose contrast and see the atmosphere can affect that too. But like I said, it's in kind of a different way. It kind of like bends the hydrogen alpha out of its wavelength just slightly, and so the contrast isn't all as good. But anyway, so that's all I have to share. I'm going to close this. So that's my take on things. Who'd like to go next? Anybody? Mark, would you like to go next?
I didn't get any.
Oh, you didn't get any? Oh, shame
No,
on you.
it was cloudy at my house, and by the time I got all my stuff in the house, I was spent and said, "Okay, to heck with this."
Yeah, yeah. See, that's something I mentioned to Steve. When Steve was showing his stuff, it's like I saw all this stuff, but yeah, the clouds started rolling in really quick. At least in Apex, it did. So it sounds like it did there in Cary. But yeah, I came out at 2 a.m. because I had to go and check the barbecue across the street, and I looked up. I didn't see anything. So yeah, but well, Steve did. So I'm jealous of you, Steve. Shame on you for making me look bad. Yeah.
Oh, I have the advantage of being able to stay up all night.
Yeah, night owl. Okay.
Yeah, and I do
All
that.
right. Who would like to go next?
I can go, Chris.
All right, take it away, Johnny.
Okay, let's see here. Select a window to share. Okay. I don't see that. I'm having trouble sharing, Chris. Okay, I'm not seeing my screen here, Chris. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can see it, Johnny. It looks like
There's a white screen, isn't it?
yeah, it says sign in now to avoid losing access to the white.
Yeah. I've never gotten that before. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you probably
Are you
this
seeing
should a
anything
new
now?
feature, but
Hmm?
it's not your screen, that's for sure.
No, that's not what I'm looking to show. That's for
Maybe
sure.
you can cancel and try again.
Okay. Somebody else wants to go ahead. Try one more time here. No, it's not letting me do it. Somebody else can go and I'll try to work it out. Okay.
I have some stuff I can share. Let's see, hopefully this works better for me. Can you
Yeah.
guys see my browser?
Yeah,
Yes.
looks like we got your Zoom window.
Yeah, I'm trying to switch tabs. The little black thing at the top is blocking the. Yeah, so I was at Rakatoa on Friday. You know, that was pretty incredible timing. You know, I had obviously no idea that this was going to happen, but I was camping there overnight at Staunton River State Park. First time I'd ever visited there, and we got some pretty awesome views up there. Early in the evening, like 8 and 9 through to maybe 10, it was like pretty overcast. But then the clouds started parting, and pretty quickly after that, we started seeing some of the aurora. So I took some pictures just using my smartphone. I had a tripod stand for my phone there, luckily. So I was taking maybe 3 or 4 second exposures. They came out pretty good. You could, with your naked eye, you know, you could see the red and green hues faintly. You know, it was interesting that who was it? Cole or was whoever was comparing this to the solar eclipse, which I also went to see, you know, the month before. And they're definitely pretty similar, you know, in terms of awesome sights, but I don't know, maybe just because this one is spread out over a longer period, it didn't quite have the impact for me, but it's hard to pick one. Glad I got to see both of them. So these,
Alec, were you out on the main field?
yeah,
Okay.
well, you know, there's like the main field that the other, not Rakatoa, but the other Star Party is on, and the Raleigh folks were on a slightly smaller field on the other side of the building.
Right.
But I mean, it's the same area.
I hear that there were people coming in and out of the park all night.
Yeah,
They're trying to see it and wondering, not seeing something, and then coming in and not seeing something, and occasionally seeing something. So
yeah, that was a little unfortunate. Like I said, it was my first time there, and I was like, man, how do you guys capture any images from here? There's people coming in and out all the time. But fortunately,
exactly.
the aurora was bright enough that it wasn't too bad. Actually, up until maybe midnight or 1 in the morning, the aurora was so bright that you couldn't actually see that many stars. There was like some sort of haze layer or something. So not the worst problem to have, but it was a little annoying. And so these first few pictures are from earlier in the night. This was the best I could do of trying to get the moon just before it set. This was before the aurora really kicked into high gear, but you can still see a little bit of it here. It was a nice little cutout in the trees to get the moon from this angle.
Hey, Alec.
Yep.
Yeah, the previous picture there, what time was that taken?
Um,
'Cause I
let's,
think that's Lyra and Vega, the bright star Vega there on the right.
yeah, these aren't exactly in chronological order. But basically there were 2 imaging sessions that I did. One, you know, from like 10 to midnight, and then the other one, a later one, was like 3 in the morning.
Okay.
So yeah, this was, I think this one is probably the earliest one that I've got, and this one is probably maybe around 11 or
Yeah,
12.
the moon was setting probably around midnight or a little after. So the one that you got there was probably the one at 3 right now, because and that's primarily the color that I saw at that time of night as well.
Maybe. Yeah, that's funny. You guys can tell based on the stars the time better than I can remember. But yeah. So
Well, if that was Vega, you were probably looking mostly eastward then, weren't you?
Oh, well, I mean, there's interesting stuff in every direction. Um, definitely like I mean, to the north had the most consistent, like strong colors, but at the Staunton River, we could see stuff in every direction.
That's wild.
Beautiful,
That's crazy,
Alec.
because it's like I didn't really see much in a way. I mean, it was still red in the north, but it just wasn't as much. I mean, because that kind of like, I don't know. It just I didn't understand that so well because I was like, well, they're northern lights. You would think they would be brighter towards the north. You know?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the different, little fuzzy blobs would pop in at different places, but broadly speaking, over a longer time span, it was more consistent in the north.
Yeah, I think at the places that I was imaging, if I would had gone to the south, there would have been light domes. I would not have seen them to the south. I would have at Chapel Hill to the south when I was in up north of Hillsborough, and when I was here in Durham, I would be Durham to the south. So for me, it was only the north really that I could see.
Yeah, yeah. So this one I think is like, this might actually be my favorite one. It's not quite as flashy as some of the other ones, and I don't know how well this is coming through the video stream, but you can see several like little streaks kind of in a circular pattern here. This was taken facing the camera straight up.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I feel like this looks like you're looking into some sort of cool nebula or something. I feel like it really invokes like a sense of staring out into the wonders of the universe. And the purple
Yeah,
and cool.
this must have been the earlier session, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I recognize it. Okay. I mean, the stars. I mean, I recognize the stars.
Give me an exact minute, okay? What time was it?
Yeah, exact minute. I don't
That's
know.
Leo.
Let me get my protractor out, Alex. Hold on. I'll have you a
I
reading in
would
a moment.
send the image to astrometry.net and have
Right.
it verified for-
It's a really nice picture of Leo there.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's yeah. So
Right, yeah, so as you can see, we got all sorts of different colors: greens, reds, blues, and purples. I don't remember seeing the blue or purple visually with my eyes, but yeah, they came through really nicely in the pictures. Um, uh, this one is pretty cool because you can see like a sort of swirling effect. It's not as clear as some of the other ones, but this was based on this tent that I can see here that would have been facing like south east, I believe. And there's really strong blue, or I'm sorry, red, green and red layers here. Oops.
yeah, you've got me wishing that I'd had an all sky camera going. 'Cause
Yeah,
I had no idea there would be stuff in anything but the north or northeast or west.
yeah, I was definitely wishing I had some sort of like 360-degree camera, because yeah, I was that night, I actually wasn't particularly focusing on taking pictures. Like I mostly just wanted to take it in visually. I like to avoid, uh, experiencing events through a camera, right? I like to take the time to take it in with my own eyes, but yeah, I was there long enough that I still got a lot of cool pictures, and I was definitely wishing people were like constantly like whiplashing around, like, oh, look at that, in every direction the whole night. It was amazing.
Yeah, my mother-in-law said I was acting like a little kid, and I was like, I've never seen this before. I asked her, "Have you ever seen it?" She said, "No, I haven't." I was like, God, you got to be more enthusiastic about this kind of thing. You may never see it again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely some of the other folks that showed up, uh, some exclamations, oh my gosh, look at that. It
Yeah.
really reminded me of some of the kids' reactions during this total solar eclipse that I experienced. It was the exact same vibe.
Yeah, you just couldn't sit still. You're just like, look at that, look at that.
So this was a star trail photo that I took. This is using a special star trail mode on my camera. I hadn't used it before, but I wanted to give it a try. I think the star trails turned out pretty neat, interesting to see that however the camera processed it, it kind of filtered out most of the aurora light. But
What, excuse me, what, phone is this?
this is a Motorola Razr.
Oh, wow. Mhm. Yeah, is this, software exclusively for that or,
Yeah, I think so.
oh, well. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, yeah,
This was a 30-minute capture.
yeah. Did it like do like short captures or
I'm sorry, what was that?
did it do like did it do like short captures throughout that 30 minutes or did it do?
Yeah, I don't know what it's doing in the back end, but I just, set it on my tripod and hit, you can set the exposure time beforehand. And it just had a timer counting down for 30 minutes until it was done. And this was what it spat out.
That's pretty good actually. Yeah. I wonder if it's an Android app or yeah, I don't know. I mean, you said this is a mode on the actual on the phone though, right?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like a
Okay, so it's probably not Android. It's probably exclusively Motorola then.
yeah.
All right.
I kind of wish I had taken like just a raw long exposure just to see how that would compare to whatever processing this is doing. But by the time this was like one of the last ones I did before I got a couple of hours of sleep. So I didn't want to
Do
wait around for another half an hour I wasn't that curious.
Do you have any individual, do you have any individual frames from pointed that direction?
No. Well, I didn't take any other pictures specifically aimed at Polaris, but
Okay, because you could combine,
Actually, Alex, can you go back to that?
sure.
This is just us. I mean, this is just imagers nerding out here, right? So, can you like zoom in on one of those streets?
Oops, that didn't work.
I can't. It doesn't look too dotted. I mean, I guess it is dotted a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Chris, that it might be that the exposure length was just a little shy of being able to pull in the Aurora with the.
Yeah, it may have been like, I don't know, if I were to guess, maybe 3 seconds.
No, that's about the same exposure length that I was using for the other photos. So
Oh, okay.
my guess is that whatever processing it was doing was like filtering that out. I don't know, maybe it filters
Well,
out like
It filtered,
light pollution or
yes,
something.
yes.
I think it may not have filtered it out. It probably just smeared it because, well, it was moving through each frame. Is what happened.
I can see a little bit of red hue to the background noise, but
Yeah, that's what I saw too. Is like coming up from the bottom of the picture.
Well, Chris, the Star Stack software that I use on my Mac to do these star trails will fill in the gaps between exposures.
So you
So
can cheat. Is that what you're saying?
basically, yes.
Well, I mean, that's good to know. I mean,
And you can turn that off or you can turn it on. It depends on what you want to do.
so cool. So yeah, well, based on that, Steve, you could just take one exposure and it can make something out of it, right?
Nah, it doesn't work quite that well, but
Oh, okay. Oh well.
you have to get the curves right and all of that. So it just interpolates between images and fills in the gaps. So that you still get the curvature of the star lines that you see.
Yeah.
So, but you can turn it off, like I said.
Yeah. Sorry, Alec. Yeah.
yeah, no, this is good
This
to
is what
hear.
we talk about here. We go into the little nitty-gritty details that would bore most people.
No, no way. It's what I love. I can show up here with my like basic smartphone pictures and then hear how the hardcore people do it with their real cameras.
Well, it
Right.
also makes us look bad if you're able to do something like that and we spend hundreds of dollars on all our stuff, right?
I was gonna say thousands, Chris.
A thousand, yeah, yeah. Don't be modest, Chris. You know?
Yeah. So this one, this would have been facing east, I guess, just getting the Milky Way as it was rising. I don't know if that's coming through the stream, but definitely see a little bit of the Milky Way on the bottom here. And a really nice green to pink gradient.
That's Scorpius coming up right there.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe that was more south or southeast then. Um, so this is definitely, this is from the later 3 or 3:30 in the morning session. The Aurora was actually definitely like less intense compared to earlier. So this is a longer exposure time than the other ones, but came out really nice and bright. Yeah, and you also get more stars because of that. And I was able to see these streaks that you can see in here with my naked eye. With at that time, they weren't moving around, you know, like they were earlier in the night, but you could see them, you know, just sort of there hanging on the horizon. Is there a official name for those, that sort of formation? Dano was calling them fingers, and so that's what everyone started calling them at Rakatoa, but
I don't know about official, but I've always heard them called curtains.
Yeah, I was gonna say curtains. Because
okay.
if you like, you may have seen like, people who actually go out up north to see the lights, you'll see that you probably see more green pictures than the pink and red ones that we saw. And you'll look at them, and it looks as if you're looking at curtains from above, because they just swirl across the sky, and but they also go up into, out into space, I guess you would say.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess as we're talking, I'll go on Google and find an example or whatever.
Yeah, I think this is the last one. So this is like a 30-second exposure of the Milky Way. Um, you know, and getting just a faint, you know, relatively faint aurora hues over the top of it. Some green, blue, and a little bit of pink. And this is probably my favorite one that I took.
It's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Is your first Milky Way shot?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So how much money are you gonna spend on getting a better one?
We will see. We will see. Yeah, so I guess that's the last picture. One other thing I will know, I don't think I don't think I mentioned this yet about the in-person sort of experience there, but there was probably maybe 3 or 4 times over the course of the night where we could really see those like streaks dancing around really intensely. Yeah, they're still like not super bright, but the motion was really pronounced. You know, most of the nights they were just like fading in and out and slowly morphing, but there was maybe 3 or 4 times where it'd just be a band that would start wiggling around and everyone would, you know, stop and look at it and take it in. That was just really,
So
really
Ryan just
cool.
gave us a little bit of vocabulary. Usually when you see them like that, or they're called like pillars. So, I mean, I think the curtain ones are the ones that like look wavy and, I don't know if I were to make up the word pillory. But yeah, pillars, that makes sense. But well,
So
Alex,
yeah,
yeah, this was really good. I think my favorite though was the previous one that you just showed, and that's only just because I like remembering certain things. That just reminds me of that background that was on. Oh gosh, I'm not a Mac person, but it was the background that came with all the Mac computers a long time ago.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
and Alec, I'm glad to hear there's another late nighter who will stay out through the night because whenever I've been up to Stanton, that's one of the things that I do. So awesome that you stuck with it for the whole night. You got some excellent shots. Sounds like you
Yeah,
had a wonderful experience also. That's fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Normally I'm not a late night person, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do with this once in a lifetime kind of thing.
Dave, were you there when I was there all night?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was up all night in my little spot. So
Oh, that's right. I guess I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, I think we were in different parts of the field,
Very
but I definitely that as I was saying earlier, that was my excuse for not seeing this one because I went out at 10 down here and didn't capture see anything or capture anything. Went to bed, got up briefly around 2:45, 3 o'clock. Didn't really see anything, so went back to bed because I'd been up the previous 2 nights working on some other shots, and so I literally slept through it. I had people calling me, but I had my phone on Do Not Disturb. So, but I'm just loving all the images and photos that people are sharing. So thank you all for that.
All right, anyone else have any more questions about my photos or are we moving on?
No? Okay. Who'd like to go next? Anyone? Anyone?
I can try again, Chris.
All right, go for it. Dave, did you get anything?
He didn't hear my little story. I did not.
Oh, shame on you.
No, I was fine with that. It happens.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
That is what I wanted. I wanted reflection off of a body of water.
Yeah, well, that's a mud hole. I guess that's a body of water.
Close enough. Who cares?
I almost got stuck in it. So, but yeah, I knew there was probably going to be an Aurora Friday night because social media was lighting up with people in Europe reporting it, and the K index had been hovering between 8 and 9 all afternoon.
So, Johnny, yeah, I really don't know either. Can you tell us what the K index is all about?
K index is a value that is related to the storm, the solar storm conditions, and you can get it from a website in the form of a bar graph. And we were having a G5 storm at the time, which is the highest we can have. That pegs the graph. So, twilight comes and it's cloudy over Stedman. But I can look to the north and I can see some clear sky to the north. So, my wife Ann and I jump in the van and head over to a place that I've been going for 50 years. It's a large hayfield between Stedman and Wade in northeastern Cumberland County. And this is actually before the end of twilight. I was shooting with a Nikon D850 with 14 to 24 and 24 to 70 millimeter lenses. And, but this is looking northeast. That's Vega right here, rising. And we could very early on, even in the twilight, we could see some red and green clouds showing up in the pictures. And most of these are 10 to 15 second exposures at ISO 1600 and 3200. So anyhow, we're over there and it starts playing out, and then it wraps around to the west. If I can get it to. Can't get it to advance now. Oh, here we go. You see that?
Mhm.
Do you see a different shot now, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is looking west, and the red Aurora had advanced all the way to the west. This is still in some twilight. That's the moon, and that object coming out from the moon, the line coming out to the upper left of the moon, is a Starlink satellite trail that was just recently launched. They were very bright. It's one of the best Starlink passes I've ever seen, and they go marching across the sky almost directly in front of the moon.
That is cool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And you got a green component of the Aurora over to the right there. So we hang there for a little while, and then till it gets dark, and then I said we need to drive home, see what it looks like from Stedman. So we're driving home, and Ann is looking out the van window all the time while I'm driving. And about 2 miles from Stedman, she said, "You need to pull over right now." So we pulled over about 2 miles north of Stedman to a farm field that is actually farmed by my oldest son. Okay, so we're right there on this road. So I set up the camera with the 14 to 24 millimeter lens, and I did a 3-image panorama from left to right. I did a 3 images together, moving the camera about 40 degrees between shots. Did 3 of them.
What were the exposures for those?
From left to right. So this is about 180 degrees from left to right. Well, I'm sorry, Chris, what did you say?
What were the exposures for those?
About 10 seconds at
Okay.
3200.
Well, better than my 10 seconds.
Yeah, ISO 3200 and f2.8. So it was really, and we could see a lot of these colors, but the thing I like about this one, it seemed to capture all the colors that were seen that night. You know, the purples and the pinks and the greens and the reds.
And
course,
the framing by the trees and the stuff on each side, that's your artistry there, Johnny.
Yeah, well, this is a unusual scene, that's for sure.
Just awesome.
And then we finally get to Stedman, and you know, big city, and even in the light polluted part of Stedman there, you can still see some of the red Aurora. So we go over to my house, to the backyard, and where the observatory is. And you know, if you live in Stedman, my observatory is one of the tallest structures in town. So we're there in the backyard, and this is looking south. You know, this is not looking north at all. This is due south. Because here's Spica and Corvus and Arcturus up here. But this is looking south.
That was the thing that I noticed about it. It's like I said, it's like northeast was about the only part of the northern sky where it was brightest, you know? And it's just so strange. It's like you would think everything in the north would be blazing.
Yeah, yeah. But this was really neat to watch. I wasn't of course seeing it with this amount of color and detail, but it was you know, very, very cool thing to see.
Hey, Johnny,
Yeah.
how are you focusing these?
Focused in live view on the back of the camera on the screen.
So you picked a star and focused.
Pick
down
a
on the
star, always. Anytime I'm doing any astrophotos with the DSLR, focus in live view, zoomed in on a star, and focus the star as tightly as you can.
Gotcha.
Always. No matter what I'm shooting with the DSLR. And this is Ann out in the backyard, right on the north side of the observatory. This is looking north. So very nice evening. Then it clouded up. clouded up after 11 o'clock. Clouds came in from the north and were with us for most of the night. And I was like Dave, I think he said he was up most of the previous 2 nights. I was too. So I slept through the pre-dawn show. But anyhow, on Saturday, I wanted to look at the sunspot at 3664, the place that associated with all this display. And this is with my hydrogen alpha filter and a 127 millimeter Macintosh scope of the spot as it approached the limb. And
What kind of scope is that called?
it's a Skywatcher 127 Macintosh, not Macintosh, Maxitoff scope.
Okay, Maxitoff.
Maxitoff. No, Macintosh is one of those other kind of computers, you know. So anyway, but anyhow, but yeah, it's with a Maxitoff. It's actually one I got before the eclipse and took to the eclipse with me.
Okay.
But
So you got well, I guess it's a compound because it's both a corrector and a reflector at the same time. But so it uses mirrors.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and you're using a quark. How do you keep the thing the tube from overheating?
I've got an ERF filter that goes over the front of the scope, a 5-inch energy rejection filter that you put over Schmidt Cassegrain and Mac
Who makes
scopes.
that?
Daystar. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I'm also using a combo quark, one of the quarks that doesn't have the Barlow built in.
Okay.
So I'm using a.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I was just like, yeah, quark. I always thought that it was always a high magnification thing because that's the only way that it works or whatever.
Well, the quark works best at f30 and slower. This one was at about f26 or so. I was using a 2 power mate. So this is about f26.
Are you tracking the sun at all with this?
Yeah, yeah, tracking the sun. Yeah, this is from the observatory.
Okay.
And this is the next day. A little looser view of it as it.
Looks like you caught a flare there.
Yeah, yeah, and this pair of spots right here had a flare going on between them. So this is what that first one was Saturday. This is Sunday. So then I want to catch the spot out on the limb, you know, to see what's going on with it on the limb. And I got this one on Monday, which was
Wow.
which was very cloudy, thick clouds, you know, no sharp shadows or anything. But I was able to get this one video clip, which I could see this prominence in, and so it's processed to the hilt just so it'll look like something, but it was really cloudy in front of it for the whole clip, which is the only one I was able to get. But this was Monday when the spot was almost rounding the limb. Yeah. So
I have
anyhow,
a basic question about these photos.
Yeah.
So usually when I've seen hydrogen alpha, it's like pink. Is this just
Yeah.
like color adjusted to look?
no, it's a monochrome camera. It's a black and white camera, and this is the color that I've colored all of them.
All right, cool.
It's-
Yeah, it looks
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's just a color that I've tried to be somewhat consistent with, and all of my H alpha stuff. I don't know if it's the best one or the prettiest one or not, but
Yeah.
you
No,
can make them any color you want, you know. So.
Scotty, I agree with you on this. This is the color I more or less pick as well when I do this sort of thing.
Okay,
And-
okay. If Steve and I like it, it must be the correct
well,
color then. So.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
Well, I like
yeah.
my color better.
Yeah, well, okay, okay.
well,
Okay.
well, voting. But I've
Yeah.
found that playing around in Photoshop with the color that you select on these monochrome things.
Yeah.
that this particular colors does tend to bring things out a little more.
Oh, the definition's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
because you can see that there's a problem that's coming out of the upper left sunspot there in the group. You know, you can see how it's like kind of wrapping around.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, because it's like you look at that, and if this had been on the limb, I'm willing to bet that would have been going out into space a little bit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
when
there's a lot of other folks shot some nice prominence activity when it did cross the limb. Of course, I was cloudy after every day after Monday, and didn't get to shoot anymore. But
yeah, for me to get this kind of thing, I have to do to track it, which I can, but I need to put a 2.5 Barlow in to get that close, to get
Yeah.
that detail on for that kind of thing on my Lens 60.
well, the Maxitoff is 127 millimeters, about f13. So this is with a 2x power mate.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's about f26.
Oh, okay.
About 3,000 millimeters.
Yeah.
And this, I believe, this looser one here, that was just at at f13.
But do you have the video for the other one that you said you took
This one,
you have a video for that one?
yeah, I did a 2,000 frame video of that one.
Have you tried to process that to see the motion, or was there any motion?
I don't know. They were mainly clouds.
Oh,
They were clouds. It reminded me of my total eclipse experience in Texas. there were clouds throughout.
well, I usually find I need to do at least an hour of video to get motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's motion. I mean, you can tell. Well, this, you figure this is a 2,000 frame video clip, and you've got some motion along the length of some smear, you know, along the length of the prominence. So there was there was some motion
That's all.
going on there. I'm
This
sorry,
one
what?
right here, this was Monday, is that right?
That was Monday. Yeah, that's the last
Okay.
That's the last clear day we had until today. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing the calculation right here. So about Sunday, about Memorial Day weekend, it'll be back around.
Okay. But I think there's another one about to come around.
Yeah, I've got a picture of that. I'll show it later.
Okay. Yeah, but very very cool. Cool week on the sun. I've photographed the aurora from here before, probably 3 or 4 times over the years.
2003.
I was in Iceland in 2003 at the time of that big aurora. So I'm glad I wasn't here then. I'm glad I was at 67 degrees north. But in 2001, we had a huge display where the whole northern half of the sky was red around late March of 2001. And there's several times, probably 3 other times since then, I photographed it from my backyard here on film, back in the day. So it does happen. But I think if it happens again, when you look at that K index as it's going into the evening, and it's at 8 or 9, and we have social media now, we can kind of keep tabs on what they're seeing in Europe. And if we have a clear sky, it really is time to move on it.
Yeah,
It really is.
I put up the link in the chat where
for the K index.
all the index and the
Yeah.
For the
Good.
space weather site, Steve?
yes.
Yeah,
Mhm,
that was very useful.
Yeah.
Till I
But
was
this is
asleep.
the K index graph that I'm talking is a NOAA site.
But I think this one.
Yeah, it is a NOAA site through the space
Yep,
weather as
yep.
well.
Okay,
That Steve was
okay.
sharing.
Okay, yeah, that's something cool to watch. It's a 3-hour graph. Each vertical bar on it is a 3-hour span. So it's not something to look at for real time K index, but it'll tell you what's going on and tell you whether or not you should go out there. But it's very, very nice one to see though. But that's all I've got.
So since you mentioned seeing the that really intense one in, what was it, 03 or whatever, I was wondering how much more intense it gets visually compared to what we just saw.
The 2001 one I saw from here and photographed from here. I photographed it about a mile from my house under a street sign that was Aurora Street. I kind of figured that would have some use one day, so, but the red was very much more apparent than Friday's display. The whole northern half of the sky was unmistakably red, and there was some motion. In 2003 in Iceland, there was just vivid color and motion of all the structures, and it was an aurora even Icelanders were talking about.
So then that one in Iceland, would you say it actually approaches what some of these pictures look like in terms
Oh
of
yeah,
intensity?
very, very much, yeah, very much.
Yes, I was in Reykjavik in August of 2015, and I missed it by one day.
Yeah.
Ah.
Keep that always the way.
Yeah. But this one was one of the best. It was one of the best, and we could see it coming. We when Friday morning, if you were monitoring all the stuff online, we were almost certainly were going to have an aurora that night. Less so on Saturday. The numbers were just not there on Saturday. The storm level had gone to G3.
G3s is what I saw. Yeah.
And it's just not happening for these latitudes when it's at G3.
I was wondering when people were talking about it expanding across the sky, because I saw some of the models and the things that showed that there was some, I referenced some people actually seeing it down in Latin America, those kind of things.
Right.
Was it more so because just of the expanse of it that we were maybe seeing it throughout the whole sky versus when you typically might see it at Reykjavik or Alaska, those kind of things, that you're seeing in a more contained manner? I was trying to understand why the covering the whole sky, if anybody knows that stuff.
When the storm level is at such an intensity, it does cover more and more of the sky, further and further from the poles.
Right. Because I heard that question asked earlier, and I've been thinking about that myself too.
Yeah, and when we see it here, most of the time we see red because the red component of the aurora is like twice as high above the Earth as the green component. So it's it's easier to see over the horizon at a greater distance from the pole.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So anyhow, but the activity is ramping up for the next year or so, and if this happens again, it's really worth getting to a good dark place and taking it in.
Well, 11 years again. It doesn't happen this time around, right?
Yeah. Plus, it's cool to shoot it with a digital camera. The best ones I've ever shot before were on film.
Yeah. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
There's some multiples of 11.
Yeah, it's like night and day with digital. So, but that's all I have.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. All right. So this is the part where we move on to the.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So when I saw it, I was seeing only to the southwest. Why would that be? I saw nothing to the north.
Okay, so Lou, I mean, you don't live too far away from me, so
I was over at I was close, but I was over at Ebenezer boat landing.
Oh, so you went there too. Oh, okay. So yeah, you were. Yeah. What time was it? Do you think? Was there like
between
sunset?
9:30 and 10:30? Because then it started clouding in.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. Does anybody have any input?
No, because what I saw up in north of Hillsborough was all in the north. I don't know.
Well, it's just like anything, but they call it a geomagnetic storm, I mean, weather is chaotic, so who knows?
Okay.
Maybe based on everyone's experience, we can triangulate where it was.
Yeah, that's something that crossed my mind. It's almost like Mark Lang when he orchestrates all this stuff with star crazes on the moon. I wonder if you could do something like that with the Aurora, kind of, and just say like, lay out the banding pattern across North Carolina where it was intense and where it wasn't at any given time. But anyways, okay. All right. Well, if nobody else has anything about the topic at hand being auroras, we're going to go ahead and move on to the last half. Hopefully it won't be too much longer. Last part of the meeting where where we look at non-aurora stuff. Well, something I'm going to do is I'm going to, in the spirit of the discussion, though, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see if I can get this to come up. All right, there it is. There's that. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, this guy, because I like making fun of politicians dressed like Colonel Sanders. Uh, he, uh, this politician right here, I can't remember his name, but it was him and another guy, another politician, across the street. This is at the museum. I'm sorry, I should give you some background here. They were having sort of like a science day for all the legislators. And so you could come out and like look at all the things that were on display. Anna, because she's all into her STEM outreach stuff. She was like right next to us, and so Anna was showing her what her work is all about. And then I was right here, and I don't know if you can see it just beyond my telescope there. You can probably see another counterweight rod there.
Yeah.
That was the museum's hydrogen alpha scope. But anyway, so this legislature is about to look through my scope here, and so we're doing some solar stuff. So something I just wanted to show. I don't know if it's going to work on here because I just downloaded it just now. But let's see, this work. Yeah. What ended up happening is I got again, I don't remember his name. I got this legislator to look through it at the hydrogen alpha. You see it in hydrogen alpha more so than the other two wavelengths that I threw up there earlier. He looked through the scope, and I looked through the scope, and there was a nice sunspot group, almost kind of close to the center, and so we were observing that, and but then suddenly I go to just time passed by, and I just went to look through the telescope and looked at hydrogen alpha wavelength, and what was a black sunspot group, it was white. So those who I can't remember her last name. Her name's Rachel. She's like the one of the museum's astronomers. I told her to get over here and take a look at this, and she was like, "Well, are you sure it's not a prominence or whatever?" Because a lot of people tend to confuse prominences, which are on the perimeter of the sun, as flares. So no, it's definitely a flare because there used to be a black sunspot group and lots of light. So there she is holding up the camera to it. But yeah, there are some other people looking at. But let's see if we can find it. Oops, I'm in the wrong place here. I'm gonna stop here. Come on. Let's see. Okay. There, there. There's that one. Okay. Well, it's showing it here. So anyway, this was what we were all seeing. It's not playing with the animated GIF, but yeah, that sunspot group that's like just to the upper of center. Yeah, it just exploded. It was just it was just a bunch of black spots, and then suddenly it exploded. Now, what I have here, obviously, it's not you saw I was showing people through the telescope what they were seeing. Wasn't taken with my camera. there's another website on there, and I'll throw it into the chat called GON, Global Oscillation Network Group, and they look at the activity of the sun pretty much just as much as space weather does. They don't really deal in auroras like spaceweather.com does. But they have a one section that shows what the sun looks like in hydrogen alpha from different locations around the planet. And but this is just one that I looked at because this was back in, well, it says it right there in the date, um, uh, last year on the 29th of June. And the sun's, or excuse me, the actual, let's see if I can make this go back. Maybe it'll work. Not working. Okay, but anyway, that sunspot group that she saw, yeah, it just suddenly exploded, and it was really weird. It had formed a filament, and it's so odd because I didn't really see the filament. And I say filament as in like it's a filament of plasma, and when it gets really nice and tight, that's when we have what they call the prominence. But it was a filament that you probably remember. You saw two sunspots there in that group next to each other. They were uh, sharing material, if you will, between them. And if anybody understands how flares work, basically the sun, because it's a bunch of plus and minus charges, it's like I said, it's just melted hydrogen atoms, a bunch of positive protons and electrons, just in this giant ocean going around this body that is the sun. And because it's positive and negatives, and they're moving, they have magnetic fields. And so, unlike the Earth, which our magnetic field emanates from the core, which is centralized at the center of the Earth, uh, the magnetic field is nowhere near as dynamic as the sun. And so everything just stays in one place when it comes to magnetic field of the Earth, whereas the sun, this magnetic field can just be distorted because we have just a bunch of plus and minuses, minus charges just swarming around the sun at any given time. Well, the magnetic field can be twisted, and this positive negative charges can be flung out into space, and that's where you get a flare there. So anyway, yeah, that's all I had to show. Who else has images that are related to the aurora? Nobody? Not Steve
Yeah,
did.
I do.
Oh, Don? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I have two pictures. I got a new telescope.
Oh,
and,
good for you. What kind?
and I have a picture of it. It's a Stella Mira 90.
Okay.
And let's see. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, you see that?
Yep, we do. Looks pretty. Looks beautiful.
Yeah, I finally retired the 94 Brandon, which I've had for 37 years or more, and I've used it for maybe 13, 14 years for astrophotography. It was a pretty amazing scope.
Was
But
it a triplet?
hmm?
Was the Brandon a triplet?
Yes, it was. It was a cemented triplet
Okay.
figured by Roland Christian, whatever.
Oh, okay. From astrophysics.
Yeah, exactly. It was like it was an early one of the fairly fast. It was F68 for the mid late 80s. That that was a fairly fast. And this scope, it's F6 versus F68. It has probably a little bit better color, CA, and the field is flatter, a little bit flatter. I did buy the the focal reducer field flattener with it as well. It's not installed here. And it was tested. They test these scopes, and I had a pretty good one. It was a 0.983 Strel ratio, so I'm pleased with that. And it has a very nice focuser, as you can see. It's a beautiful focuser compared to the old Unitron thing that was like from a 60-year-old you know, visual scope, which I made it work for astrophotography. But
Did you-
this is nice.
What is the company name again, Don?
Stella Mira.
Stellar Mirror, because it looks like my carbon tube stellar view.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, and I had to order it through TS Optics out of England, and that.
But TS Optics is in Germany, isn't it?
Uh,
'Cause I've been there.
is it TS or I thought it was in England. Maybe whatever.
I think it's in Germany, but they may
Yeah.
sell.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, and I also bought a second camera, and the 533 MC Pro, and I did that because it gets me. This is 540 millimeters, and this gets me back because of the somewhat smaller sensor than the 294. It gets me back to say 621, 620 millimeters on, you know, equivalents. Smaller pixels, but it's the same sensitivity as the 294 in that. So yeah, it's 11.3 by 11.3, and the 294 is 13 by 19.1 millimeters.
So the pixel scale is about the same, this configuration as your
Yeah, pixel size is like 4.63 on the 294, and it's 3.76 on the 533. And
Okay.
I was thinking about the 2600 MC, but I'd probably have to buy another computer. The files start to get really big, and that. But but anyway, yeah, and let's see if I can find the other picture. Let's see. I don't know.
Were you doing electric focusing there, Don?
Yes. Oh, I love it. That's really nice. And that, although I work with the Banton, but it's nice. You can do it, you know, over time intervals, over temperature, and yeah, you can see the little temperature sensor up here, and that wrapped on cable. Now I need to find the image of the Sombrero Galaxy, and maybe that is it. I don't know. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. This is
We can't see
Take
it, Don.
We're
We're
not
still seeing the
it,
scope.
oh. How do I get to
Close that window and then open up the,
how do I close? Just stop sharing
yeah, just stop sharing and then close
Okay.
that window.
and then go back and
know where the sombrero is.
you see it now?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
We don't see you at all, Don.
Okay. What the heck is going on? They make some changes to this. Damn it.
You have your sombrero up on your desktop,
Yeah.
all right, and then you go down to the share on the bottom of the Zoom window.
Apparently, oh, I need to go back to Zoom. That's it. Okay, that's the problem.
So
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
share. Then share and then pick the window that has the appropriate image.
Yeah, and then share. I got it.
There you go.
Do you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, this was taken at a friend of mine. He's Ian Stewart. He's a couple miles down the road from me, and he has a good view to the south because this is fairly low in the sky. And this is taken with the stellar mirror and the 533, and it's 87 2-minute exposures. And the gain was 101 about unity and -10. And yeah. Oh, it was also enlarged approximately 1.47x and that because it's fairly small, like 8.5 minutes and that. But was interesting when with this camera, I taking some other, I did 106 and that one time I did that, I forgot to put the UV-IR filter in, so that kind of messed things up a little bit. But on the processing, I thought I didn't need to run darks because there is no amp glow. But with Deep Sky Stacker, it needs darks because you get some sort of inverted, like a what am I trying to say? Vignetting. It's kind of weird. So I couldn't really get it all out. So I ran some darks and then redid it, and it solved the problem.
Have you tried using Cyril? A lot of people are, it's free like Deep Sky Stacker, and a lot of people are using Cyril now.
Yeah, I should. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't want to use Fix and Psych and use Cyril.
Yep. Okay. Thanks. I will give that a try. Yeah. Yep.
Because you might be able to get away without doing the darks.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah. And that's the only that's the only image I have so far.
Looks good, Don.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? I know, Steve, you have it.
Yeah, Chris, I've got a bunch of things on the C Star if you want to see them.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see, where's it? Share it. Here it is. All right. Just out of curiosity, there's my M104 with the C Star.
That's really nice.
So that's I don't know, maybe 2 hours of exposure processed. But let me go back to where I was. That's my intention was to go back to the beginning here and go back to the C Star album. So I've been trying a lot of different things. This is something I did today just out of curiosity. Let me make it bigger. The C Star comes with a solar filter. It's a white light filter, and the one that's on the left here is with the white light filter. But instead, I put on a neutral density filter, 100,000 neutral density filter instead of the white light filter, and it seems to work a bit better. You can see more of the sort of modeling on the surface of the sun, and there's more detail in the sunspots and that sort of thing if you zoom in on them. So I'm going to start using this filter, I think, for doing my solar images with the C Star. Because this you can
Where did that neutral density filter come from?
the what?
The neutral density filter, where did it come from?
It's just a 2-inch one I bought to use on a camera. I bought it at the place in Raleigh.
And that's all you're using to filter this.
Yeah, so I'm putting that on the front of the C Star because it fits right into the little hole there on the C Star and works great. And
Wow. Okay.
I'm trying to see if I can get prominences with that neutral density filter, because you can't do that with the white light filter at all. So I'm experimenting to see. And so this afternoon I did this, and here on the left side of the sun, up there near the bottom there, you can see this sunspot group coming back onto the front. It's a different one than the one that just went off on the other side. So there's something coming into the sun now that's a pretty good group of sunspots. So, and I try to go out each day and look into what's happening on the sun. And there's quite a few sunspots going across the equator there.
Is
So
this today's image, Steve? You
yeah,
shoot it today?
yes, this afternoon.
Okay, yeah.
So I did the white light filter first, the one that comes with the C star, and then I put the neutral density on within a few minutes, and just to see what. And they're both 2-minute videos processed exactly the same way, except I changed the color a little bit on the one with the C star. The default color is a little orange. But anyway, they're both processed in Photoshop exactly the same way. So like I said, the neutral density filter is a bit sharper, and it shows somewhat more detail on the surface than the white light filter does. So I'm going to start using it instead of the white light filter. Okay, then this is another
Well,
one.
Steve, just one thing, just to compliment you.
Yeah.
It seems like your images there are more up to date than spaceweather.com.
Maybe so.
Yeah, because it's like, it's like I could tell that well, I mean, it's obvious that on your images right there,
Yeah.
well, it's kind of 4 there, but that sunspot group that you're talking about, that's coming around on the limb there on the left.
Yeah.
There's 3, well, definitely 3 sunspots there, and then maybe a 4th one is coming around. But yeah, on spaceweather.com, you can only see 2. So
Well,
you're ahead of the game, man. So
depends on what time of the day they do it. And the C star takes 5 minutes to set up, so who knows?
Yeah.
It's really easy. Okay, that's another one, just the same thing. All right, this is M17, this Omega Swan with the C star. This is about an hour and a half of exposure, stacked in the C star and then processed in Photoshop. And that's a little too much saturation in this one, but it's the kind of thing that C star gives when it stacks. And so it's a little bit oversaturated, but that's the Pickering's triangle in the Veil Nebula. And then this is a project that I'm working on now. This is this Blaze star, which is right here. This HD 143 454 is the Blaze star that's supposed to nova in the next few months or tomorrow even, who knows. And then this is Epsilon Corona Borealis right here. I'm keeping this in as a reference as far as the magnitude goes. So if this starts to blow up compared to the magnitude of this one, I'll know that I've got something. So I'm going to try to shoot this area every clear night that I can do it in the hopes of catching that nova and the evolution of it, and then compare it with the other stars so we know what the magnitude is. So that's a C star project.
So this is these are all 12-minute exposures in Durham?
Yes.
Huh. Okay. Well, that's pretty good.
I took 12 minutes of 10-second exposures and stacked them.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, they're all 10-second exposures, but 12 minutes total of each frame here. And then I just mosaic them together. Because I can't always fit everything into one section in the C star, because you can't do any rotation of images. All right, that's the Cygnus wall. These are all C star. Everything's C star. 10-second exposures at various lengths, usually 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending on what the target and the night and all of that. And then I process them in PixInsight, stack them in PixInsight, and then process them in Photoshop.
Does C star does it do like color images, or can you tell it to do monochrome?
Well, it's color. I can't tell it to do monochrome. I can put a light pollution filter on it. Okay, and so these ones with nebulae in it have a light pollution filter. I could put filters like an H alpha filter, and you can do 30-second exposures, but the star trailing still seems to be a little bit of a problem. I've set the C star up now to do equatorial, so I'm working on making it do equatorial instead of alt as, and that works, and I've done it, but I haven't done it on any.
That's fairly new, though, right?
But the equatorial,
yeah,
because of the stability of the system. Because if you put it equatorial, it tends to want to tip over, so you have to be very careful with how you set it up. And there are other subtleties and things. And I put it on an equatorial wedge, and then you have to actually go through an alignment, which you don't have to when in the Alt-S mode. It does it for you, but in the equatorial mode, it doesn't understand what you're doing, so you have to kind of tell it to polar align properly. And so I have done that on one thing, and it did work. I went for several hours just on a star field, and it did work. It didn't do any Alt-S type nonsense, but any rotation or anything like the other star field, it kept it right straight. So it does work. It's just it requires much more setup than simply the Alt-S version does. But so here's the Veil, part of the Veil Nebula, for about, I guess, an hour and a half, something like that, 10-second exposures. And then this is my first mosaic of the Markarian chain. So there are three images of this. Is about 45 minutes for each of Markarian, and then I put them together. I process each one in PixInsight and Photoshop, and then just put them together in the ICE Mosaic Maker. So that was just a fun little project because I hadn't done a mosaic. They don't have a mosaic mode yet.
Have to get the cleanser.
So okay, and then this is the Comet 2023 A3, and that's all done in PixInsight in their Comet stuff. And then this is a little video of the comet moving, all done with the C-Star, and then processed in Blue Motion to do that. And that's a lot of fun to do.
When was this?
May
3rd, okay.
May 3rd, sorry, May 3rd. And that's for about 2 hours, I guess, something like that. And that's fun to do. And then this was, as I've talked about this before, this is with the supernova in this galaxy here, and then the asteroid. I guess maybe we talked about this last time, I can't remember. So we've got a galaxy chain here, and then a supernova and an asteroid moving. I don't know if I did, and there it is again. And then this is the Whirlpool M51 with the C-Star again. This is about 4.5 hours of 10-second exposures. I've done over 2 nights. And so you can do that. And there's thousands of files that you have to deal with. And then there's another supernova in that galaxy there. And then M3 and another galaxy, 3344. And so, and then there's Trifid and various other galaxies. And then this one, I don't know if I've shown this before, the M46 and the little what is that, Mark?
Planetary.
Planetary
nebula, yes, sorry, in there. And so I've just been playing around doing all kinds of different things with the C-Star just to see what the capabilities of it are. So
You're getting your money's worth out of it.
Yeah, for $500, yeah. I only paid $400 for it because I got it early. So it's quite amazing. The iPad that I used to control it cost more than twice the C-Star. So yeah, and of course they're up. The Dwarf 2 is coming out with a Dwarf 3, which I haven't used the Dwarf 2 very much, and I'm going to start using it again just for fun. But they're coming out with a Dwarf 3. And then the rumors are that the C-Star will come out with a better version of the C-Star as well, but probably not this year. So we'll see. Okay, that's all I have, Chris.
Very good.
Good stuff.
Oh, you got something, Mark?
I got a couple.
Well, we would like to see it, please.
All right, let me see if I can share. There. And here. Okay, can you guys
Got
see
it.
it?
Yeah. Oh, I remember this one. This was great.
Yeah, this is taken from my front yard. This is with my Genesis 4-inch f5 and my ASI 294. This is M98 and M99 in Coma Berenices. And this is an hour and a half of exposures, which is a little more than I usually do, but came out pretty well. If you look in the background, and I have to credit Steve with this, I think he counted up 14 or 15 little bitty galaxies other than the two main ones here. But I don't know if my pointer will show. Can you guys see the plus sign pointer?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's a little galaxy there.
I see some Ed Johns.
That one's one there and one there. A couple nice little edge ones down here. Anyway, lots of galaxies in galaxy land.
What was the length of each exposure?
I think I went 90 seconds each.
90 seconds. Wow. Okay. You said an hour and a half, right?
Yeah, hour and a half total.
Okay.
And that's from your driveway, obviously, right?
Yep, that's from my driveway.
Yeah, and that's what, like Bortle 7 or 8? I mean, that's pretty
I don't know what it is. It's bad though.
So you've done a bit of processing. I mean, it's amazing that you get it turns out this well from where you are.
Thank you. You have to be persistent with this deal. And when I process these things, I always process them once and then decide I don't really like it or I could do better, and then I do it again. And this was the second time around for me on this one.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and I'll go on to the next one. This is a comet picture. And this is 12P
wow.
Pons Brooks. And for the first time in a couple of years, I actually got away from my house, but only about a mile out to Lake Crabtree. And Dave was out with me that night, and my wife too. And we caught Pons Brooks really low to the horizon, and all the light pollution and the glare out pointing towards the Raleigh-Durham Airport. But this guy is I think this is about 15 or 16 minutes of total exposure time on the new little Red Cat telescope I have. It's Red Cat 51. And
You did this with a Red Cat 51?
61, Red Cat
Oh,
61.
61. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's F5 also, so it's a nice, sharp, fast scope.
That's
And
a big comet then.
yeah, I probably processed this one 6 times till I got something I wanted. So, the comet was down into the evening twilight, and there were numerous satellites, and the light pollution is bad out there in addition to the twilight. So I had a tough time processing this one, but this is what I ended up with.
Was
Are
it
you-
easy to find that? I mean,
I'm sorry.
was
Say
it
again?
easy to find?
No, but I used the go-to function of the ASI Air to find it.
Okay.
Did you pick and cite this one or?
Yes.
Because that comet stacking really works really fantastically well in that.
It does, and I did that. I separated the stars and then worked on the comet by itself and then brought the two back together.
Yes.
And I'll show one more, and this is my my little asteroid thing. I don't know if everybody's seen this or not.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's
That's
This
cool.
guy was let me see when I took this. I've got some notes here. April 18th. So I couldn't photograph this guy on the day that he was brightest. So I had to get it on another day. But this is a succession of 30-second exposures on less than ideal conditions. But I'm using my ASI 1600 mono camera on this one. And I think I took, this is 48 30-second exposures with a gap of 30 seconds in between each shot. And then I processed them all the same, cropped them all the same, and then put it together, made an animated GIF out of it. But this little asteroid is really not that little. It's between a half a kilometer and a kilometer in size. And it actually passed inside the orbit of our geosynchronous satellites of the Earth. So it got pretty close.
That's scary.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody even noticed it, but can anybody see this little thing right over here?
Yeah.
That's a galaxy, so not a processing error.
What's the star actually?
Let me see if I made a note of it. I didn't write down its name, but that star is 6.7 magnitude. And I think the asteroid itself is somewhere around 13th magnitude.
Okay.
Mark,
Yeah, I
did,
was gonna
Mark,
say.
did you get enough data? Do you think you could get the luminosity of each shot to see how, if it's tumbling or something like that?
I could. I didn't do that.
I bet you could, though. You've got it, you know, it would be interesting because as you said, it got brighter. Yeah, but did it get brighter because it got closer, or did it get brighter because it was tumbling?
I think probably the answer is it's rotating, tumbling,
Yeah.
and parts of it are darker and parts of it are brighter. So
That's
depending on
why
how fast it was doing that.
I'd be able to make a graph of the luminosity of that if it's relatively consistent. Because it sounds like you did it consistently for each frame.
Yeah, I did. The only thing that's inconsistent is you can see some deviations in the brightness of the background. Those were clouds moving through. So
Okay, yeah. Well, send it through astronomy.net or Astrobin or something to identify those stars.
oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. I can just plate solve it in PixInsight.
Solve it and see, that'll give you the magnitude of the star at least. You could figure that out probably.
Yeah, I'd be interested in the galaxy over there too.
What the galaxy is, yeah.
Yeah, the galaxy is NGC 5584. I don't have its magnitude.
584.
5584. Yeah.
Right. Well,
So this is in Virgo. Okay. I'll
Just
turn
with
it
your
loose.
4-inch, your 101 refractor?
Yeah, it's the Teleview Genesis, which is
Okay.
100. It's one of the really old ones. But I'm still hanging, unlike you, I'm still hanging on to it.
well, if you don't want it anymore, Mark, I'll take it. I wouldn't mind having a 100 millimeter f5. That's pretty good.
Oh, I'll write you into my will.
Thank you. I met your son before. I'm sure he'll be okay with it.
Right. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay. All right. Yeah, 9:30. Wow. Okay, 2 hours. So, all right. Well, thank everybody for coming, and I guess we'll call it a night, and we'll see you here. Let's see, when's the next meeting? Hold on. We can do it. Probably, I think that's going to be June 20th. I think that's going to be. Anyway, yeah, see you next month, June 20th.